and welcome along. I'm Chantal Broderick, and today I'm speaking to the owner at Discover Strength, the founder of Discover Strength franchise. He's a podcast partner, a podcast guest, and a longtime friend of the show, Luke Carlson. Welcome along. It's so great to see you.
It is great to see you, and it's just always a pleasure to be associated with you, Chantal. So thank you.
Well, I am so glad that you are joining us today, and we are going to be chatting about launching a strength training franchise. And I read an article that you wrote recently, and in that article you said the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has set the stage to make 2021 an ideal time to launch a strength training franchise. So what I want to know to start off today is, what is it? What is it about the current environment that makes this the perfect time?
So we have a constellation of factors. So one of those factors is COVID-19, and the COVID-19 pandemic has taught the consumer, well, I need to be active, I need to be exercising, but I need to combat cardiometabolic disease as an underlying risk factor, of course, not just for COVID, but for full-blown cardiovascular disease. And this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. It's what my graduate school thesis was about cardiometabolic disease or metabolic syndrome. And strength training is the best way, is a great way to combat that. So it's not just that we are active, which clearly we're all interested in increasing an individual's activity, but we're not called just to be active. We're called to actually engage in strength training or resistance training. So I think we have this newfound understanding, this elevation of the importance of, I need to be engaged in strength training, not because I'm going to look a little bit better, or I'm going to improve my resting metabolic rate so I carry less fat. No, I need to be engaged in strength training because it's the number one thing I can do to keep cardiometabolic syndrome or cardiometabolic disease at bay. So that's number one. We're starting to think about those health aspects more. And then you combine that with the fact that the consumer maybe isn't excited about rushing back into so many of our traditional fitness concepts. So the consumer, and I've known this for 10 years, it's my observation, the consumer says, I need to be working out, but they don't always think about, what do I actually need to be doing in terms of the workout? They know that I need to be, and I've always felt this, I need to be spending money, going to a gym, going to a boutique, going to a class of some kind. And there may be a perception that I don't want to go to a class of 70 of my favorite friends shoulder to shoulder on a treadmill running, because that feels like it's COVID unsafe. Now, regardless of not whether that's actually true or not, the perception is that I don't want to be packed into a room with a lot of people. And so a strength training concept, we've seen strength training concepts just grow in popularity because you can have a few people strength training together in a one-on-one or small group model. And those have been really successful because of the perception around what's safe and what's not safe in terms of COVID. Now, let me just make sure I make this clear. I think going into a big box health club, I think going into a larger boutique with a lot of people, I think there's so many ways we can do that safely. So I'm not saying it's unsafe. I'm saying the consumer is a little bit apprehensive to go back to their normal habits. And so a strength training business is just perfect around those lines. It appears to be so incredibly COVID safe.
Let me jump in for a second there, Luke, because what I would like to do is, even though a lot of people, as you're saying the word strength training facility, a lot of people understand, but there's going to be a bunch of people out there that can't visualize that. Do you want to just put that into a bit of a visual for us? If I walk through the doors of a strength training business, of Discover Strength, say, what do I see when I get there?
Yeah, so you see no cardiovascular exercise going on whatsoever. There's no treadmills. There's no one even doing a burpee. We're not even trying to elevate heart rates. We are just putting tension on muscles. So it could be free weights, it could be machines. Occasionally it's a band, but it is just strength training. And that person is coming in knowing they're only going to lift weights. Now, I usually don't say lift weights because it might be a band. It might be a free weight, it might be a machine, but for all intents and purposes, it's lifting weights, it's resistance exercise. And there's no effort at being made to combine other modalities. It's not, well, let's do this strength training exercise, and as part of the circuit, we're now going to hop on the rower and row hard, right? So there's a place for that. But that's not our concept. And frankly, I think that has been really advantageous in this kind of almost post-COVID world that we live in right now.
Yeah, absolutely, Luke. And I think, that really is one of the most unique things about your business. And one of the other truly unique things is that you recruit trainers with an exercise science background. So tell us why that is important for your business and what does that experience, that exercise science experience, mean for the members of Discover Strength?
Yeah, so when we think about it, we always want to think about how is the brand differentiated. So I can't say things like we have better personal trainers, right? Or we have better customer service because every brand says that, right? How do you measure better? The consumer can't palpate better. They only understand how we're different. So differentiation is the key. And so instead of saying we have better personal trainers, we want to say, well, we have experts, educated personal trainers that have undergraduate degrees in exercise physiology, and they're American College of Sports Medicine certified exercise physiologists, and they'll generally have an advanced degree and advanced certification. So I can never say, hey, tell me about your trainer. Our trainers are the best. I can't say that. I can say our trainers have more academic credentials, more certifications, the prestigious certifications. I can say our trainers are experts, right? Now, you may not be into that. You may want a really good looking trainer that is incredibly muscular, that's high energy. We might not be that. So at least we know how we're different. You don't have to be good looking, muscular, or high energy to be a trainer at Discover Strength, but you have to have expertise. Now that we have that expertise, we can take it to the marketplace and we can tell our prospect, we can tell our customer, we can tell the member, this is how we're different, is that we have this expertise. So a client who says, hey, I've had some injuries, I've had some issues, some health issues that I've battled. I've worked out a ton on my own, and now I want to pay someone. If I'm going to pay someone, I don't want to pay someone that can just motivate me. I want to pay someone that's truly an expert. Now, let's bring this full circle. When the pandemic happened and we got shut down, just like so many fitness concepts worldwide, because we had only sold expertise, interaction with an expert, when our four walls at all of our studios were closed, we were able to pivot to virtual training and not miss a beat because the customer said, I've only been paying for one thing. I've only been paying for interaction with this expert. I can continue to do that. Where so much of the fitness industry sold access to four walls and everything that was in the four walls. Well, if I can't access the four walls anymore, your fitness company is not relevant to me anymore. I've always looked at you as a building with equipment in it. And we never took that approach. We always took the approach that you are just purchasing interaction with an expert.
Absolutely, Luke. Now, one of the other things that you talked about in that article I mentioned earlier was the disruption in commercial real estate. And I think this has been present right across the world. You talked about that disruption and the fact that lease rates and negotiating terms are more favorable than ever before. So, earlier on, you painted the picture of what the strength franchise looks like or the strength facility looks like. What is the ideal space? What's the ideal size for a strength training facility?
Yeah, so we're really small. We look at about 2,000 square feet. We'll go as small as 1,700 square feet. I can't convert that to meters off the top of my head, up to about 2,200 square feet. So this is small. This is smaller than so many of the concepts that are out there. When it comes down to it, fitness concepts, if you look at their expense categories, the major expense always is the lease, right? And I don't care if you're a big box. I don't care if you're a boutique that is, 5,000 to 8,000 square feet. This is the lion's share of your expenses. And so we're able to really minimize those expenses by being in a little bit of a smaller facility. And again, we're differentiated. When someone walks into a strength training studio, they understand, okay, this is a smaller concept. It's intentionally smaller than so many other boutiques I've looked at. And it's easier from a real estate standpoint to find wonderful 2,000 square foot spots than it is 5,000 square feet or 8,000 or, my goodness, 70,000 square feet like an actual big box.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're so right. So I think because we've stepped through the various elements of strength training franchise and painted the picture for the listeners and for the viewers out there, I think it's important that we talk about who is that ideal person. Who does the Discover Strength franchise suit most of all? Who is that person?
Yeah, that's a great question because who you partner with and who we take on as a franchise partner, that is the key decision, right? First who, then what? Who are you going to work with every day? That is the most important consideration. So for us, it's got to be someone that's aligned with our core values. We just have 4 of them: learning, servant leadership, creating our own future, and science-based. So you have to believe in those things. We don't want you to adopt those core values. We want you to already have them in your DNA. So you believe in what we believe, right? Shared values. Then the other element is, are you aligned with our core purpose? Core purpose is just, hey, this is why the organization exists. It's not a goal. It's not the mountain we're climbing. It's a purpose or a cause that's larger than us. It's, in Simon Sinek's words, it's the infinite game that we're playing. We're never going to achieve it, but it's the reason why it would be worth it to set all these other goals. And for us, that's leading the movement in evidence-based exercise. And that simply means, well, let's take what the scientific literature is learning and let's apply it to how humans work out. Working out is awesome. It's as good as it gets. And scientific discovery around exercise is as fascinating as it gets. Let's just combine those two together. So the core purpose is to lead a movement around evidence-based exercise. So when we share that, if that speaks to someone, well, my goodness, you should move forward with us. If that doesn't speak to you, that's fine, because everybody can have their own purpose, right? If you're aligned around purpose, your work is going to be that much more meaningful. Now, that sounds a little bit esoteric to people. That's where it's got to start. If we get a little bit more specific, the right franchise partner for us is 3 things. They have a passion for strength training, because that's what we do, right? Like, we strength train. You better be into strength training, not just exercise broadly, but you got to be into strength training. Number 2, you have to be really passionate about building a customer service company. We say we want to be the best customer service company in the world. We're a customer service company that happens to do strength training. So if you're not passionate about studying customer service, we're probably not a great fit. And the last one is someone who's passionate about leadership and management. We think that being a great manager, being a great leader is one of the ways that you can actually change the life of an employee, of your direct report. We think that by itself, that is the job, being a great leader and manager. So we'd say the right candidate has a passion for customer service, strength training, and leadership and management. And Chantel, there's a lot of people that love strength training and they have no interest in those other things. Or they are really passionate about leadership and management, but they're just not interested in service excellence or strength training. And we might not be the right fit for them, but it's those 3 things, those 3 passions. If you want to live in those passions day in and day out, then we're the right partner.
Luke, I've got to tell you, not only did you just answer that question incredibly well, but you also gave me a little bit of a flashback to the very first time that we ever did an interview together. Because in that interview, you might remember, we actually talked about how important the values of Discover Strength were, and we talked about the why for the business. And just in case anyone is watching this right now who didn't see that interview, I want you to go back to the show notes for today. I'm going to put a link to that one. I think it was 2016.
That sounds right. Sounds right.
2016. So, and I remember you talking through the values at that point. So it's great to see the longevity in that, the why of the business, and also hear about just who the ideal candidate is for a Discover Strength training franchise. So the last thing we need to talk about is, where do people find out more information?
Yeah. They can go to discoverstrengthfranchise.com. I mean, that website has everything, and then they can, first of all, peruse that site, download more material there, and continue the conversation.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, Luke, it is always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your support of the show. As I said right at the very beginning, long-time guest, long-time friend, now a podcast partner. We're so pleased to have you a part of the show, Luke. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And you forgot long-time listener, very long time.
Long-time listener. That is true. That is true. A true member of the FBP family. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you so much, Michelle.